My name is Michael Zach, and this is a Press Start to Begin podcast. Hello, this is Michael Zach.
This is Amy Ballard.
Hi, this is Marsha Morris.
And this is Jennifer Munoz.
And today we'll be talking about Chris Priestley leaving BioWare. Chris Priestley announced a couple weeks ago that he was going to be leaving BioWare by the end of the month. And this was met with much applaud throughout the entire internet. I'm positive of that. But what did you think about that, Amy?
Needless to say, I was jumping up and down mentally in my seat when I found out about that. I honestly felt that, Chris Priestley, he really antagonized people online. Whether it was the BioWare social boards or through his Twitter account, he was always kind of like poking at people, trying to be rude or disrespectful to them. And, after being a part of the Retake Mass Effect movement and seeing how he was treating everyone and all the BioWare fans and everything like that, I really didn't have a good impression of the fellow. But honestly, he was the community manager on the BioWare boards, and he was a big face of the BioWare company. He was giving BioWare as an impression of, we don't care what you think, fans, that we're going to do what we want, and if you don't like it, you can go cry about it, we don't care. So I'm in the end really glad that he's gone. Maybe this will go good for the company since, EA, after 2 Golden Poo Awards and lots of backlash over a lot of different things, they need to fix their PR and fix it fast.
Definitely. When I heard Chris Priestley was leaving, I just had to tell everyone I knew. I mean, everyone that he's going. And half the people are like, who? So, it was actually pretty cool, at least for me. He's gone, and it just amazed me just how much of a visceral response he gets. People who love him seem to really love him, because, people have met him in real life at conventions and, people he works with, and those people have nothing but nice things to say about him. And now on his Facebook wall, you have a lot of people who are just wishing him well and are just have these great things to say. But then other people who've only known him online, all of us, he's a jerk. This guy seems to be the equivalent of an internet bully. He wields, what does he call it, the ban hammer, I think is he wields it freely and almost seems excited when he gets to use his power. The guy was just I'm going to try my best not to swear, I was about to, but I'm just going to refer to him as just one of the biggest jerks I've ever met, and I don't get why BioWare would have someone like him. Regardless if he's a nice guy or not in real life, when you're online, the only thing you have are your words, and those things will ultimately form people's perceptions of the company. As far as I can tell, what Priestley ended up doing was making everyone think BioWare, they don't care about the fans, and, they're just a bunch of jerks. And Chris Priestley helped perpetuate that belief. Hell, he helped make that belief with the way he treated the fans and the way everything went. What do you think, Marshall?
I was on the BSN, the network that he was a community manager for. His title was Evil Chris Priestley, and believe me, he completely earned that. I've never been on a community board before where he would just go on a rant. People would open up 15 threads and he'd throw them all. He'd say off topic, lockdown, and even for people that were simply trying to ask a question. Of course, there are a lot of trolls on the BSN, and there were a lot of upset people the first 6 months after Mass Effect 3, the ending came out. He was just mean. I just thought, this is the face that your customers are seeing representing you, BioWare, and why aren't they doing anything about it? Because I personally complained to BioWare about his behavior, and I know other people have as well, and yet it never seemed to matter. I'm really glad he's gone, but I actually wonder if it has anything to do with BioWare. And I think the worst thing, one of his worst qualities on the BSN was the fact that he would ban anybody. If you pushed his buttons too many times or If you posted a thread too many times or questioned his authority too many times, he would ban you. And then for a while there, when you were banned on the BSN, you were banned online for your games, and you couldn't play them. It just seemed like BioWare was their PR department was completely helpless in the onslaught of customers' complaints. They didn't either know how to handle it, or they refused to, and they thought the only way to get people to stop talking about it was to drive them away, which is pretty much what they've done.
You gotta admit, that is a strategy. Not a good strategy, but it's definitely a strategy.
Well, when you call, because I thought I did something wrong when I finished Mass Effect 3, and I called the customer service hotline, and do you know what they said? They said I had to go to the BSN and ask questions, which I did. And from there on, it's just been a nightmare.
Well, Jennifer, what about you? Your thoughts on all this?
You know, when I heard that he was leaving, it was sort of bittersweet. I wanted to be happy about it, but to me, I wanted him gone when the whole controversy of Mass Effect ending was happening. I didn't want to be bitter about it because that's just not who I am, but I wanted someone to take responsibility. And it may not have been Chris Priestley's responsibility to take, that it was his fault, but he certainly didn't help matters with the fans. He seemed to encourage everyone's wrath against the fans. He seemed to actually enjoy it. Your job as a community manager is to, in some ways, keep the peace among people. When people were beginning to launch their complaints about the game, it was like he cracked his knuckles and say, okay, here we go. Let's see how much chaos I can reign with this. And he did. With banning people from the boards, banning people from their games, going on Twitter and antagonizing the fans with some of the rudest comments I ever come across. The rudest comment I ever heard was when they released the extended cut, and he posted something that says, "Play it or not, I really don't care." That was kind of the worst promotion for your game I've ever seen. Play it or not, I don't care. We got your money. That doesn't matter to me either way. And I agree with everyone else here. He seemed like an egotistical jerk, and he seemed to love it. And seeing him go, like I said, it was bittersweet because, yeah, he was gone, but he should have been gone a long time ago.
That's a very good point, Jennifer. I didn't even think about that. I mean, I figure if he would have been let go just around when he made that extended cut comment, that would have gone a long way to improve customer relations.
Especially, there were some employees at BioWare who did try to keep the peace, who did try to, calm down the fans as best they could, and I give them credit for that. But there were other employees who just didn't give a shit, who just didn't care.
Correct. That would be Stanley Wu.
Who's Stanley Wu?
Mm-hmm.
Stanley Wu is exactly sort of like evil Chris Priestley, only I don't know what his title was, but he was also very much of a bully. But there were a lot of Dragon Age community board managers that hopped on to BioWare, and I agree with Jennifer. They tried really hard to present BioWare's side of the story and why, things worked out the way they did, and they need to, calm down and let the extended cut come out.
I thought if anyone at BioWare would have said something like, we here at BioWare really do care about the fans and your opinions of us and our products. We're saddened by your response to the ending of Mass Effect 3, and we really do want to understand why. If they would have started off with that, and if they would have just simply said with it before Extended came out, said, while we can't promise that we can meet all your complaints due to restrictions that have been placed upon us, we will do everything we can to continue earning your trust by addressing as many of your concerns as possible. If they would have just done that.
Exactly.
Bam! Everything would have been great. But
if they would have just done that, I think the whole entire blow up the way it did between the fans and BioWare employees, I think it would have been lessened. But instead, it was more just kind of like the impression that fans were given was, well, you didn't like it? Well, F you. We don't care. We got your money. Mass Effect Extended Cut. Play it or not, we don't care.